You're listening to a Lost in the Groove segment.
Having good vibes with your bones and joints. Taking a trip into the groove. American groove into stoner world. Gonna play.
Look, it seems and it feels are completely two different things.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because for a second there, you were super wide, okay?
Oh.
Like motherfucking white, like the color of the walls in a new apartment.
Could you see it?
Yeah, like I could barely see you. Like it was blinding, you know? Like you almost, like there was no dimension left.
No, but did they see it? Were we recording when that was happening? Okay.
No,
It
God.
was
Oh, God. No.
insane.
They don't deserve to see shit like that.
I looked crazy. I turned down the lights for like 5 seconds because I thought I could podcast in like a dimly lit room.
Genius.
But I looked like an actual marshmallow. Like an actual like glowing beam.
Like a Ghostbuster character, you know, almost.
Yeah, I did kind of look like a Ghostbuster character.
Who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
I can't imagine how scary it was to see white people for the first time. You know, like,
oh my
I'm sure
God!
they're just absolutely terrifying looking. Like, ah! Like, I don't know. I always think like, yeah, you can see our veins. It's kind of freaky. Like, I don't know. I've been paler than most people I've ever known. Most of my life, I've been paler than pretty much anybody. If I see,
for example, like I'm chocolate and compared to you, vanilla. You know.
But I've always been like significantly pale. Like even amongst like the pale people, I'm the palest.
Wow. Like there's a pale scale. Hey, pale scale.
It's like it's really like translucent up in here. Like I'm really, really pale. Yeah. Enough about my skin tone.
Wait a minute. You're trying to segue over here. I know what you're doing. Sneaky little bastard. Yeah, go on.
I get to roll a joint today, David.
God bless America and joints. Amen.
And I had a little thingy that I had rolled for like the tip, you know, like a fake little what do they call those, filters? And now it has poofed away. Here, let me look for it, okay? Ooh, look at that. That's a nifty little
I'm trying something. See if that it doesn't work. Fuck. You know, you try something new, you know, and you think it's going to go all well, and then it just doesn't. But there's like a clippy thing you can get for joints, you know?
Damn it.
It just like holds it in the right place.
I worked
want to be
so
one of those
hard.
people. What?
I worked so hard on my little like thing that I made to go in my joint. Oh, look, I found it.
Ooh.
Right? Anyways, I was like really sad that I was going to have to cut another piece of paper and roll it because that sounded like such a freaking burden.
Oh my God, such a burden. You know, especially like when the difficulty of smoking marijuana is apparent.
I know. There was a time there where a friend had given me like a giant bag of weed, and it's all I had was just this like outdoor weed, and I had like no money, and I would just like roll these little joints, and it was the first time in my life that I'd ever like not had a pipe, not had a bong, like I didn't have a vape pen, I didn't have anything. And so it was like I needed to roll if I wanted anything at all. And I feel like it
Yeah,
I feel like it was really good for me.
Old school, like flower girl, you know, like one of those girls that's like in the middle of a field, like completely oblivious as to what's going on, but's got that like paper, you know, like rolling up that joint, you know, just right.
I wouldn't say that I breathed that well during that time in my life. I remember there was one podcast where I felt like I was going to pass out. Like I like smoked so much that like I thought like I had to like I was like, whoa. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna like knock out like mid podcast from all this
Oh,
smoking.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really weird.
It was
Yeah.
probably like our banana. Because the funny thing was, that episode, we talked about aliens. And then we kind of segue into something completely random, which I cannot remember. But then I was just like, hey, are you okay? Because I just kept on talking and you were just like,
Yeah, I just kind of was like there but not there.
ground
I
control to Major Tom. It was literally that.
have recently heard that it's possible that aliens are like a spiritual being, almost like kind
A
of like
deity?
yeah, like aliens are possibly kind of like a like more close to like angels or demons more or less, but not angels or demons, but like some type of like thing like that where they're not like physical in the same way that we are, which is kind of like what you used to talk about where you said that they were like they didn't have like physical bodies, you know?
Correct.
I don't know.
You can have intelligent light form from other types of material. We do know this from especially microbial life forms. For example, if you take fungi, fungi is a great example of this. I mean, if you think about the mycelium network, it's insane. What are you doing?
Acting like
What
I
are
know
you
what you're
doing?
talking about.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So mushrooms, okay, is a fungus, and under
I know what you're talking about
okay,
with that.
all right, just clarifying. So the mycelium network is this incredible network where not only are they able to communicate, but also to be able to create different patterns and also remember those different patterns and keep that stored without having like any type of brain or heart or liver. Like there's no body. It's just a network.
Hmm.
And what I try to think is specifically like with aliens in particular is what if, here's the what if. What if we are the aliens?
I mean, we are an alien to something else. Like, there's no doubt about
But
that.
okay, think about it like this. Just like how our planet was formed by other asteroids from other parts of space that brought together their own single cells, and those bonded because those rocks started to attach because kind of like a magnet. You have everything just kind of flying all over the place, going straight to the magnet. Even that stapler going 100 fucking miles an hour is going straight to it. But then, like the stapler, and then you have the paper clip, and you have everything that's attached to it. So now everything can start to form and mold together. So we can be a species that's billions of light years away that was flown all the way here to Earth and formed here.
That is what the Scientologists think happened, is that we're actually a population from elsewhere. Now, what we are, formed on planet Earth. Like, I'm
Correct.
100% sure of that. So I don't think, I mean, I think it's a cool idea, but I really do think that like we developed on Earth, like what we are. But I don't fucking know.
Well, think about also, there are other intelligent creatures that live on this planet. For example, octopus and
So
squid,
cool.
jellyfish. These are very, very intelligent creatures with very simple brain structure. Like jellyfish don't even have brains for that matter. But they seem to know how to adapt really well to their environments. Really, really well. Memorize, understand complex patterns, being able to deal with very difficult tasks. this may sound crazy, but it's possible octopus are from a completely different planet. And they may have been able to develop better there, the lack of humans existing. Because let's be honest, we look at octopus, we're like, yummy. Or we're like, ooh, let's take cool pictures and learn about the octopus. So if you remove that from the equation, you could have an intelligent life form developing. So this idea, we're getting a little sci-fi and geeky here, but
Well, I feel like sunlight is what sparks life when it comes down to it. Sunlight and water. But, you know, I mean, that's how the mushroom starts and the
again,
fungus
there
and
could be
everything like
life
that.
that can form in harsher conditions. Think about that for a second. Like, you can have a planet that's further away from the sun that has colder temperatures, but you could still have life form that can develop.
I agree. I
But
now need to get a little thingy for my joint too.
we both need to buy one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pick one up one of these days.
I have one. It's just down here.
Well, the interesting thing that I've always found, specifically when you're talking about alien species and life forms, is you come down to this idea of like speculation, because we never can really know until we actually explore the known universe to see if there is other life. But in the end of the day, the way that a Goldilocks planet exists. So you know what a Goldilocks planet is? I mean, obviously, it's a planet that
Everything's just right.
kind of. It's where a star is like a giant magnetic fireball. So it's a magnet, and it attracts matter. And when matter forms planets, they get caught on an orbit that has a rotation. It's not a perfect circle, but that's kind of how planets and stars kind of correlate with one another. And there's kind of like this spot, that's kind of like a few million miles away from the sun, right? That is just like the perfect place for planet to be to form life.
I get it. But I mean,
What
is that maybe why the planet even formed? Is that it's the right spot?
the way that Earth did? Yeah, possibly. The way that Venus formed, the way it is, could possibly be for a lot of fact. But the really cool thing about it is we're dealing with nature, and we're dealing with the raw idea of we're not the only planet that formed like us. It's not possible. The universe is too big and large for that to be even a question.
Yeah. I remember like I started to think about that like really, really in depth when I was in my early 20s. Like, is that, like the world's just too big, for it to be that simple, like it just hit me at one point where I was like, this world is so big that, it's almost like anything is possible. Like almost anything that you can think of, somebody could be doing at this moment because there's just so many people. But I don't know. I thought it this morning looking at the sky, how peaceful it looks. The sky looks so peaceful, and how under that sky I have experienced so many unpeaceful things. And then, I'm looking at a sky that seems peaceful, and someone else is looking at the same sky and it does not feel peaceful to them at all.
It doesn't. And the way that I have always put myself in that predicament, because I've had a lot of hard sunrises and sunsets. And the thing that I always come back to, and it's something that I kind of learned from Buddhism, which is the scariest part of darkness is the unknown. Is you're not afraid of what's there because you don't know what's there.
Yeah, I
You,
have actually been afraid of the dark recently. Like, just because like I'm, alone. I feel like I I never used to feel scared, but I actually said this the other night that I feel like part of the reason that I am scared is because of like all the things that I've seen in media recently. And also like just like as a woman, like the all the sex trafficking stuff makes me feel kind of like somebody wants to hurt my body or like thinks of my body as something other than like me, you know?
you're a value. You're a number. You're a thing that they can grasp whenever they want to and stuff you in a van and ship you to Mexico and then ship you all the way to East Asia.
I just get a little like, I always used to feel like, oh, nothing bad ever happens around here, but I just don't totally trust it anymore. And especially with the alien thing, I was like, shit, like aliens, they don't need anything to get to me where I am. They could just pop up in the middle of nowhere, you know? But I will say, like if they wanted to pop up in the middle of nowhere, why wouldn't they, do it already? I think that somebody should make like a movie about like an influencer and like the aliens like come to the influencer, and then
And be like, why are you doing this? Why?
well, no, they're just like, we saw you and we want to interact with Earth like through you.
I want to observe the beings
I
you
don't
call
know.
human.
I think they could just watch TikTok.
They can watch a lot of TikTok and be like, ooh. Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like what if the aliens are the ones running all the sex trafficking?
Maybe
It's
it's
just
the
ridiculous.
the squids. They've all kind of made coalition. They've kind of been tired of being hunted. Like they're like, we're gonna get these motherfuckers. We're gonna go on land. With our little tentacles. Screw these bastards.
I don't know. I mean, like
The squid army.
if aliens
The
were like
Squidwards.
skinwalkers,
The
if aliens could like jump in, bodies or whatever the way they say that they can, like why wouldn't they like jump into like, a brown bear or like a bald eagle or like
yeah.
why do they choose
Or a
like human
falcon.
beings? This is such a dumb like fun
No,
like
this is
stoner
so
thought.
fucking fun. Keep going. I love this.
But
Please.
honestly, like maybe it would be like way cooler to like experience like Earth like through a bald eagle, like as compared to like a human who
Like,
has
like, oh yeah. You like do the calls, baby, like brush up your little feathers, showing them off. Yeah.
Can you imagine the alien who was like, you know what? I just decided I wanted to be a French bulldog. Like,
Or a poodle.
yeah,
Or a
he was just
poodle.
like,
A
I just
miniature
want to
poodle.
be like, a little puppy, be like fed and like be happy.
Oh my god. What if Louis was an alien? One of the good ones.
He looks kind of alien. And like sometimes I look at his face and I'm just like, how are you like a species from Earth? Like you just seem
It
way
is
too
nuts.
cool.
Well, like when he we've always said this, but like whenever he opens his mouth, okay, this is the thing. It's like his whole face goes away. It's just
There's
mouth.
like, oh, and then like the top half of his head like just like
just
goes
disappears.
back.
Yeah.
It's really, really cute. Like I said that his head was shaped like, isn't it? Are they No, it's not football heads. What are
It's like a square head.
the South
like,
Park, the Canadians, like their heads are like they like open completely. Like they're
yes.
on South Park, they're like two separate pieces and they make like a face and then it like opens when they talk.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yes.
And I felt like that's how Louis Canadian. And so all of the Canadians in that show, their heads are made that way. And I just always thought that was such a artistic, creative thing.
I mean, it's not fun like, at the Canadians, but yeah.
But it's not like offensive. Like they're not like saying like Canadians' heads are shaped strange. Like it was just like a funny way to like choose to make Canadians. Like it wasn't like offensive. It was really funny. Like, but yeah, I mean, they over exaggerate this idea of what a Canadian is. And it's like, you know, like the more outdoorsy type of a Canadian, like, and they talk a lot of shit about Canadians because at that time
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
funny because Canadians were such a small like threat, like, and they're so peaceful and so
Not
like
anymore.
wonderful. But
Not
at that time,
anymore.
it was like amazing. Like it was so funny to be like, oh, Canadians are such a pain in the butt because they were amazing. I don't know anything about Canadians right now, so I can't say if
Oh,
they're
right
amazing
now
or
they're in
not.
oppression. They're like in a fucking insane.
Sounds bad.
It's bad. It's very bad.
When I went to Montreal, I know that they had like a lot of issue with young kids doing heroin. I'll just put it that way.
It's crazy how like we're at a point where heroin is a better alternative than fentanyl. Which is
It's probably fentanyl now. This was like 10 years ago, so I
right.
can't imagine how bad it is now.
But
And
the thing about heroin is that crazy enough, it was way more treatable than fentanyl.
well, yeah. I mean, it's harder to create heroin than it is to create fentanyl, which is why we see such an increase of fentanyl.
And it's insane because the amounts of deaths that like it's not even about deaths. It's the insanity of the fact that you have to like say to yourself the amount of stress, the amount of endurance you need to survive now is high because there's a lot that you have to hit in order to make it, in order for you to be financially successful. But
Yeah, I would think so. There's a lot of people, I don't know how the fuck they're pulling it off. And then
I
you
don't know
find out
either.
it's like their rich grandma or some shit.
I don't have a rich grandma, so that's out of my equation completely.
But I cut you off. I liked your train of thought. It was good.
It's just a matter of being able to put your focus where it can be most useful. You know, I have a hard time being able to accept that like this is permanent because I have so much control of my life. I do. You have the same. It's where you want to believe the propaganda, you want to be woke, you want to be one of those dumbasses, go right ahead. But I like to believe in the philosophy of me and you. So if I'm going to be the type of person that wants to interact and be able to experience things, I want to be able to hear and at the same time like gain a good value, you know, where there's no closeness, you know, there's no oppression, it's just we're talking, we're having a conversation. We may have a disagreement, but yeah. You let me go completely straight through this train of thought, so I appreciate it. But you might have to break down just a little bit of it. Yeah.
Well, you're talking about how much effort it takes to just keep your head above water right now. Yeah. I don't know if I sunk.
Like the Titanic? No.
You know, like it was like it's so hard to keep your head above water, but I'm like, did I drown? And then now I like died and it's like new life or something. Like
it's like a phoenix. No, I'm serious.
But I mean, like, I'm saying
that is what a phoenix is.
It's so hard to survive. I don't know. I worry about like the younger generation. It's like you better get yourself like a legit career, or I don't know what you're going to do. And then it's crazy, like, how many people there are that, like, you need to do that. The magnitude of amount of people who, I don't know. And then it's like, if you want to, like, raise kids, like, how do you convince somebody to care and to do a good job, and that, like, this fight is worth it? Like, you have to raise them with this mind frame of, like, like, hey, we're going to try our absolute fucking hardest, like, at everything we do. Like, it's like, how do you, like, teach that to someone who hasn't seen it? Like, I think I finally get it, like, where it's like, fuck, like, you gotta be on top of your shit if you want what you want,
I to be honest, a lot of how I've been able to see this more clearly is due to the fact that I have a partner.
Yeah.
Because prior to that, my belief was a lot of what I've been gaining is make believe. It's what you see in People's Magazine. It's what you watch from a late night sitcom.
What specifically?
Because I come from a background of where being gay is a sin. And that means that if you choose that life, you choose a life of suffering. So there's no good that comes to you. So
I've heard stuff like that.
So with that set in mind, what I've seen because again, I've never seen gay relationships because I grew up in a Jewish Orthodox community. And even though I left those Jewish Orthodox communities, my experience with the gay community was very on the other side. I kind of went in, but I never was able to make those connections with people. So my experiences a lot was watching television, like Will and Grace, for example.
Modern Family.
Modern Family. Friends is another example. And it's hard because not everybody has my background. I know that. But for me personally, that was my experience. But being able to actually experience it myself, this is completely off tangent. My apologies, honey. But it's the greatest example. Like, we're smoking weed, right? All weed is compounds that are interacting with cannabidiol, which is a natural compound that exists in your body.
I love it.
Okay? That's all it is. Okay? And the crazy enough thing is that high that you can get that high from other things too.
Like being in love.
Doing an early jog in the morning. When I say early jog in the morning, I'm talking about somebody that, like, those people that I knew somebody like this where, like, the clarity, that they need, like, they wake up, it's like, they got to get it out. Like, the first thing in the morning, that's what they got to do.
Yeah. I do. I feel like I get, like, some shit, like, out when I'm at the gym. Like, I feel like I, like, start running and, like, I'll, like, think about some of the things that, like, like, I'm like, God damn it.
Motherfucker.
And I kind of am, like, running and I'm like, yeah, I don't like that. And, like, then I'll think about things and I'll, like, have a few more things, like, pop up in my mind. And I'm, like, daydreaming, like, as I'm running. And it kind of, like, clears my mind. And I start to, like, think about, like, things that I do like. Then I'll go back to, like, the stuff that I don't like. And I'm like, yeah, what are we going to do about that? And I, like, keep running. And then, like, if I have some time to kind of, like, I think this is what you're talking about. You're, like, in this flow state where you're, like, doing this activity, and since you're in the activity, you can go in and out of thinking about the things that you need to process, like, mentally. And so, because you have that opportunity to jump away from it and the freedom to jump back into it, for some reason, something about that mental freedom and having another thing to kind of focus on and go back and forth with
Mm-hmm.
that isn't like a mental thing, it's just a physical thing,
Mm-hmm.
kind of frees up this way of thinking. Like it kind of like all of a sudden you realize like more opportunities that you have, more options in the things that were bothering you.
Oh, 100%. I think about him practically every day, and like the sense of clarity is impeccable because it's like where I can get to a state of mind that's not only zen, but it's warmth, it's comforting. You know, there's no stress, there's no, it's just pure.
I haven't hit that. I'd like to.
No.
I mean,
It's,
sometimes if people leave me
but
alone
like,
for long enough.
but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those.
Honestly.
It's a good distraction. It's basically a distraction that you can, that you can kind of like. I'm describing this really poorly. I'm trying. Like I'm chugging the bucket like
I just have
nobody's
to say,
tomorrow.
like, when I'm in the car and I'm driving to work on Monday morning and I've
Hmm.
had the whole weekend to like let everything out, and I'm like in the
Like even the vagine.
car,
Yes.
I'm like happy, like I'm like driving to work and I'm like, I wonder how everything is gonna go. Like, how is everybody gonna just stress me the fuck out? Like, I was like, because right now I feel really good.
I feel good. Now. I feel good.
And it's like, I wonder what it's gonna be. I felt that way when I used to go, like, when I lived in California, I would like come home and visit Iowa. And I would come back to California and I was like, so what's it gonna be? I was like, what's gonna ruin everything? Because that was kind of how it was. It was like, oh my God, like now I'm back in like crazy town. And it's like, what's gonna happen? You know? I don't know. I mean, work isn't LA, it's not like crazy town, but it sucks how much the stress like of the outside environment like affects my body. Like I'm just like tense, you know? Can't shake it.
Can't shake it, baby.
So,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
talk about
yeah.
like reaching your peacefulness, I think I can get there too, but it's like I almost need like a day or two of like
A day or
peaceful
two.
time. I do. I don't know how to just like tap into like peacefulness like outside of my like weekend. I mean, sometimes I have, like good evenings where I kind of like can kick back and relax, but for the most part, even when I sleep, I'm like worried
I
during the
genuinely,
week.
like I said, I generally go. My happy place is the people that are in my life. So it's like you and
Yeah.
my partner and people that I'm close to. So, like, yes, I am genuine to myself, but at the same time, it's the other parts of me make me whole in a way. In a way, it's like whole as in when the sun rises in the morning. And like you described, it's the new day, it's after your day off, and you're in that good
Yeah,
zone.
you like finally get to like wake up and know that like nothing's gonna disturb you. I
Nothing.
know, like I mean, the other day I had the opportunity to fall asleep and know that I don't have to like get up to go somewhere. Like it's the moment before I'm falling asleep where I think to myself like, okay, well, what's happening tomorrow morning? And it hits me, nothing. I'm like, whoa, yeah. Like, I'm like, that's amazing. Like, okay, cool. Like, I can manage that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say like work is like a burden. Maybe like the step before that, which is
Hmm.
good because, I mean,
For me, more than anything, I would say and I'm going to end off with this, is memories.
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah.
because you have so much to live for, but there's always those times that you can go back to. You know, the things that you can, the things that you share with another person. You know, like there's things that me and you have shared like over the past few years that are fucking insane and hilarious, might I say.
Oh, it's wonderful how many memories we have together when we haven't lived in the same
Nope.
state for years.
Years.
But we do. We have memories.
Surprisingly enough. Oh my god. The one with no power, the one without the refrigerator.
Oh, yeah. I think about like, you know, just like you being like, "Hey, look at my new rug." Like we went through, I think the moment when we first started like FaceTiming, like when you first like moved into your place, it like really kept us in touch. And I feel like, you know, I have these memories of you like showing me a lot of stuff on FaceTime. And then like we went through a phase where we would both cook breakfast a lot on FaceTime.
I know.
And it'd be like the weekend and it'd be like, "What are you cooking?" And like I'd be just like drinking coffee and we'd smoke and just like hang out. I don't know if is that before we officially started podcasting like
No,
every
that
week?
actually we did an episode about it. It was called the Very Unkosher Brunch, which was literally over a year ago, which is insane.
Back when I used to eat breakfast.
Back when you used to eat breakfast.
I don't know. It's on and off.
Yeah. Well, listen. You can catch us sometime in the future. Maybe never. You don't give a flying fuck. But anyway, if you want to find Carissa, you can find her at American Groove, which is on Instagram. If you want to bother her, petchka her, nudge, or crutch, you choose. In better news, if you want to check out Lost in the Groove, you know where to find us. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. At YouTube at Lost in the Groove Pod. So, that, I love y'all. Catch you.
Peace out.
Peace out, motherfuckers. We're all about the artist. That is the whole purpose of this podcast, period. And you have a really valuable tool. You can share this with artists, people that are creative, someone that can enjoy this podcast and really enjoy the experience of Lost in the Groove. So, with that, let's jump back to today's episode, shall we? Hey, it's Dave, and I quickly just wanted to jump in and say, if you've been enjoying the podcast, enjoying this episode, if you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that'll be so greatly appreciated. Because here's the thing. Someone might read that review and make the choice if they want to listen to the podcast. You get to help grow this podcast with us. How fucking cool is that? Let's jump back to today's episode.